Today's history reduced to teaser format. Napoleon lost at Battle of Sedan. French Empire collapses like a flan. Sea landlord claims abandoned fortress as new country. And London ablaze. Great Fire of 1666 destroys everything except British sense of humour. Plus, coming up, exclusive footage of Queen Victoria breakdancing on a tightrope over Niagara Falls. Or not. Those are the headlines. We're keeping an eye on the cake.
News bang. Breaking bad news like a good book of memories. 1870.
The Franco-Prussian War, a conflict so pivotal it made the 100 Years' War look like a pub brawl, reached its climax at the Battle of Sedan. Prussian forces, armed with cutting-edge breech-loading rifles and an unhealthy obsession with punctuality, steamrolled the French faster than you can say sauerkraut.
Napoleon III, caught with his pantaloons down, found himself captured and thoroughly humiliated. One eyewitness, François Baguette, exclaimed, "Mon Dieu, our emperor's been taken. Who will lead our surrender now?"
The Prussians, not content with merely winning, decided to unify Germany while they were at it. Because nothing says victory like creating a new superpower on your doorstep.
Meanwhile, the French, reeling from the loss, did what they do best. They had a revolution. Out with the empire, in with the republic. It was like swapping your broken bicycle for a unicycle and expecting to win the Tour de France.
In the end, Europe's balance of power was left more precarious than a drunk tightrope walker, setting the stage for future conflicts and ensuring history teachers would have job security for generations to come.
1967.
The United Kingdom has declared war on the sovereign nation of Sealand, a rusty platform in the North Sea. The conflict erupted when Prince Roy of Sealand refused to pay his TV licence fee, claiming BBC reception was a bit fuzzy on his metal kingdom.
Eyewitnesses report seeing the entire Royal Navy, all 3 ships, steaming towards Sealand, armed with water pistols and harsh language. Prince Roy, speaking from his throne, a repurposed deck chair, vowed to defend his nation's honour, stating, "I've got a bucket of seawater and I'm not afraid to use it."
Meanwhile, the UN Security Council has convened an emergency session to debate whether Sealand qualifies as a real country or just a really ambitious treehouse. Sealand's Minister of Foreign Affairs, a seagull named Derek, was unavailable for comment.
As tensions mount, Sealand has activated its elite military force, Prince Roy's grandson with a slingshot. The international community watches with bated breath, unsure whether to laugh or cry.
1666.
The Great Fire of London has broken out and it's spreading faster than gossip at a royal tea party. Eyewitnesses report that the blaze began when a baker named Krusty Pete accidentally set his sourdough starter ablaze while trying to impress the king with his flaming hot cross buns.
The fire is now raging through the city's narrow streets, devouring wooden structures like a ravenous dragon at an all-you-can-eat buffet. Local resident Mildred Sootface told us, "I've never seen anything like it. The flames are higher than my husband's ego and twice as hot."
Despite valiant efforts to control the inferno, including King Charles II himself joining the Bucket Brigade, the fire continues to spread unchecked. His Majesty was heard shouting, "I didn't start the fire. It was always burning, since the world's been turning."
The disaster has left 100,000 people homeless, forcing them to seek refuge in the surrounding countryside. One displaced citizen, Bartholomew Singed-Whiskers, lamented, "I've lost everything. My house, my belongings, and worst of all, my extensive collection of flammable wigs."
Experts predict that this catastrophe will lead to significant changes in London's architecture and city planning. Perhaps they'll finally consider building with something other than kindling and hope.
My news bang. Piercing the balloon of bullshit with a shiv of integrity.
And now, with a weather report that's more explosive than a powder keg in a lightning storm, here's Shakanaka Giles.
Let's start in the southeast, where the weather is hotter than a baker's backside, just like that fateful day in 1666 when London went up in flames. Pudding Lane, you say? More like a flaming inferno, my friends. Best keep those fire extinguishers handy. Swinging over to the west, we've got a bit of a tsunami-sized situation brewing. Reminds me of that quake off the coast of Nicaragua back in '92. A real ruckus in the ocean, if you ask me. Batten down the hatches, lads and lasses, and keep an eye on Sir at the Tipos City of those waves. And finally, up north, we're in for a real hurricane of a day. Gusts strong enough to blow your socks off, just like good old Elena did back in '85. Biloxi, you say? More like a scene from the apocalypse, I reckon. Might want to cancel those beach plans, eh? In summary then, scorching, surging and storming. Sounds like Mother Nature's in a bit of a mood. Best keep your wits about you, weather watchers, and that's all the weather.
(1870).
Prussian forces, armed with superior technology and strategy, have crushed the French army and captured Emperor Napoleon III himself. This catastrophic defeat has sent shockwaves through Europe, toppling the Second French Empire and giving birth to the Third French Republic. For a live update on this unfolding catastrophe, we go to our man on the ground, Brian Bastable, who's dodging bullets and baguettes as we speak. Brian, what in God's name is going on?
Sedan is a scene of absolute carnage. Imagine a Parisian bakery after a visit from a particularly irate elephant. The air is thick with smoke, the stench of gunpowder, and the pungent aroma of fear. The ground is littered with more broken bodies than a butcher's shop after a rugby scrum. Those Prussian lads are like clockwork killing machines, Pamela, their dry's needle guns spitting fire and lead with terrifying efficiency. The French are fighting bravely, bless their souls, but their antiquated muskets are about as effective as pea-shooters against a rhinoceros. Hold the front page, Pamela. I've just spotted Napoleon III. He's hiding under a table in a nearby cafe, disguised as a waitress. The Prussians are closing in, and it looks like his goose, or should I say his coq au vin, is about to be cooked. This is it, Pamela, the end of an era. The Prussian eagle has landed, Martin, and it's pecking the French rooster to death. This defeat will send shockwaves through Europe, and the ramifications are too terrifying to contemplate. This is Brian Bastable, Newsbang, signing off from a battlefield that's rapidly running out of both wine and surrender monkeys.
1967.
On this day in 1967, former British Army Major Paddy Roy Bates commandeered an abandoned sea fort in the North Sea, christening it the Principality of Sealand. This audacious act of aquatic annexation has persisted for over 5 decades, with Bates and his kin issuing their own currency, stamps, and noble titles. Despite never gaining international recognition, Sealand stands as a curious testament to human ambition and the art of making a splash in geopolitics. For more on this watery wonderland, we go to our political correspondent Hardiman Pesto.
Martin, I'm here on the windswept deck of HM Fort Ruffs, where Major Paddy Roy Bates has just declared this rusty heap of metal the independent Principality of Sealand. It's a momentous occasion, with all 7 citizens in attendance.
7 citizens, Pesto? That's hardly a nation. What's their gross domestic product, a tin of beans?
Actually, Martin, I'm told it's 2 tins of beans and a packet of digestives, but what they lack in resources they make up for in spirit. I'm joined now by Sealand's newly appointed Minister of Foreign Affairs, Lady Doris Codswallop. Lady Doris, how do you respond to critics who say Sealand is just a publicity stunt?
I beg your pardon, young man, but I'll have you know I've been appointed Minister of Seagull Relations, not Foreign Affairs, and it's a full-time job, I can tell you.
Pesto, are you telling me that Sealand's diplomatic corps consists of one elderly lady who talks to birds?
Well, Martin, Lady Doris assures me that the seagulls are very receptive to her overtures. In fact, she's just negotiated a treaty ensuring they only defecate on the eastern side of the platform.
Fascinating. And what about international recognition? Has any country acknowledged Sealand's sovereignty?
Not as such, Martin, but Major Bates is optimistic. He sent a formal letter to the Queen, written in crayon on the back of a Weetabix box.
And don't forget the postage stamp. We licked it ourselves, we did.
Pesto, this is ridiculous. How can 7 people on a rusting platform declare themselves a country?
Well, Martin, Major Bates says it's simple. They have a flag, a national anthem, and they've even minted their own currency, the Sealand dollar, which is currently trading at par with a packet of cheese and onion crisps.
And what exactly do these 7 citizens do all day on their metal island?
I'm told they spend most of their time fending off seagulls, Martin. It's a full-time job, according to Lady Doris. They're also working on their first export, bottled sea air, which they claim is particularly bracing.
It'll put hairs on your chest, it will. Even the ladies.
Pesto, this is beyond absurd. Are you seriously expecting anyone to recognize this? This floating garden shed as a legitimate nation?
Well, Martin, Major Bates seems quite confident. He's already planning Sealand's first Olympic bid. The national sport is apparently rust scraping.
I think I've heard enough, Pesto. Next you'll be telling me they have a space program.
Funny you should mention that, Martin. Lady Doris here has been working on a design for a seagull-powered rocket.
That's it. We're done. Hardeman Pesto, reporting from the world's most pathetic attempt at nationhood.
Dis 1901.
And on this day in 1901, American Vice President Theodore Roosevelt coined a phrase that would shape a nation's foreign policy for decades to come. At the Minnesota State Fair, Roosevelt uttered the now famous words, "Speak softly and carry a big stick," a sentiment that would come to define his presidency and America's global stance. From the corn dogs to the corridors of power, this philosophy of gentle diplomacy, backed by military might, was about to change the world. For more on this pivotal moment in American history, we cross to our correspondent in Washington, Melody Wintergreen.
Melody Wintergreen, Newsbang, live from the Minnesota State Fair, where the ghost of Theodore Roosevelt is giving a masterclass in power politics. The air crackles with excitement as the former vice president takes the stage, a spectral cowboy ready to wrangle the world. "Speak softly and carry a big stick," booms Roosevelt, his voice echoing with the authority of a man who's wrestled grizzlies and stared down empires. "That's how you get things done, folks. A little honey, a lot of hickory. That's the American way." The crowd goes wild, their cheers a testament to Roosevelt's enduring appeal. Even in the afterlife, this Rough Rider knows how to work a crowd, how to stir the soul of a nation hungry for greatness. Teddy's back, baby, and he's brought his big stick. "We must be ready to fight," Roosevelt continues, his ghostly finger jabbing the air. "But let's be civilized about it. A firm hand, a gentle touch. That's how we'll spread democracy and freedom around the globe." As Teddy fades into the ether, one thing's clear. His ghost won't be confined to some dusty history book. He's alive and kicking in the hearts of every American who yearns for a world where the U.S. calls the shots. This is Melody Wintergreen, Newsbang, at the Minnesota State Fair, where the past is present and the big stick is always in fashion.
News bang. Delivering hard truths like an unruly child, serving harsh justice.
And now, a momentous day in American history as the United States Department of Treasury springs into existence, like a phoenix rising from the ashes of post-revolutionary financial chaos. For more on this groundbreaking development, we turn to our business correspondent, Perkins Stornoway.
From the year 1789, moderate winds, with a good chance of showers, storm clouds brewing over the fledgling United States, Thunder rumbles as the nation's financial woes threaten to tear it apart at the seams. Biscay becoming rough, occasional heavy rain. The Treasury Department, a lifeboat in a sea of red ink. Founded to tackle the country's mountainous war debt. Dogger, cyclonic. A towering stack of IOUs. Biscay fair. Alexander Hamilton, the first Treasury Secretary, leading the charge. Shannon, slight, occasional gale force winds. The Treasury's mission, to manage federal revenue, Trafalgar, variable 3 or 4 oversee public debt. Lundy, becoming poor, regulate currency and banking. Fair Isle, moderate or good, and advise the government on economic policy. Forties, becoming poor, occasional rain. Hamilton's magic touch, Shannon, becoming rough, turned the department into a powerhouse. It grew in influence, Viking, moderate, occasionally poor, becoming the federal government's financial backbone. The Treasury's centralized authority, Fair Isle, occasionally rough, laid the foundations for the nation's long-term economic stability. So there you have it, the story of the Treasury Department's founding, a tale of innovation, perseverance, and financial wizardry in the face of adversity. The department's impact on the United States' economic future, Cromarty, slight, occasional gale force winds, cannot be overstated. That's the business forecast.
News Bang, serving up the truth one scoop at a time.
And finally, a look at tomorrow's papers. The Times: Cromwell's crew crush royalists in Worcester rout. The Telegraph: Sextus Pompey's sailing squad sunk in Sicily. The Mail: Malcolm Campbell motors to 300 miles an hour in Utah. There's a large picture there of a speedometer. The Express go with St. Ives trendy sweater bonanza continues. That's on page 3. And the Mirror: Tavistock pizza takeaway trial ends in chaos. And that's it. That's the end of Newsbang for tonight. Tune in tomorrow when I'll be talking to a dog that's done something. Good night.
Tune in next time for more artificially intelligent hilarity. Newsbang is a comedy show, written and recorded by AI. All voices impersonated. Nothing here is real. Good night.